African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for an amazing session of the Daily African Proverbs. Hey, Kat, how are you doing? Thank you for being here. It means a lot. It means a lot. I am, just excited to be here with you all for another amazing session of the Daily African Proverbs. We are live streaming on YouTube, and I am going to share the link to the live stream on YouTube in just a second. I'll put it at the top of the Clubhouse room in just a moment here. But today we are going to learn about how to show empathy, especially in this time. People are going through rough times all over. Everybody that you connect with is going through something, and you yourself is probably going through a situation, and you probably don't even know how to show empathy to another person while you're also dealing with something that you need other people's support on. So that's why we picked this Ugandan proverb with the hopes that by the end of our conversation you can learn three things. The three things that I'm hoping you can learn from our conversation today are: number one, listen to the other person's point of view. How do you listen to the other person's point of view, or the situation that the other person could be going through, even without being where they are or being in their situation? Number two, how to give the space to talk, how to give the other person space to talk about their feelings, how they are feeling. And then number three, we are going to talk about how to offer your support, and even if it seems that there is nothing you can do, how to do what you can do. Now the proverb says, a sheep does not lament the death of a goat's kid. A sheep does not lament the death of a goat's kid. And typically when we gather here for the Daily African Proverbs, we pick an African proverb and then we think about, what is it that we could learn from it? What is it that our ancestors were thinking about when they created this proverb, or when they said this proverb? And we imagine that we are in their situation, or that they're present with us, and we take this proverb and hopefully learn something from our ancestors through this proverb. So the hope today is that you learn just a little bit of tactics when it comes to empathizing with other people. As we speak, the most prominent human catastrophe that is going on is the Ukraine war, where Russia invaded Ukraine. It's almost a month now, and if you look through social media, you find a lot of campaigns that are going on where people are campaigning in order for the Ukrainians to get justice, in order for the Ukrainians to get access to basic services. At the same time, we also realize that a lot of African people who lived in Ukraine were discriminated against, and African people had to rally their governments in order to get the African people who were in Ukraine at the time that the invasion happened to get the African people out. There were Ghanaian students who were there. There was a Kenyan student that I was following their story very keenly. From the time she left Ukraine, she was in Poland for about 10 days before she finally made it to Kenya. So imagine you are the family of that girl, whose child has been racially abused, and eventually she comes back home, and then you still interact with with the information that is being shared widely of how the world should support what's going on in Ukraine, so that's the theme of our conversation today. I don't know how empathetic her family or even her would be, but naturally many of us, Africans and many people of African descent, we are always like the big people when it comes to global issues. We go through a lot of abuse, a lot of neglect, a lot of being passed by, but we end up being the ones that show empathy and show support, even where we are not invited. So I just want you to think about this proverb, particularly: a sheep does not lament the death of a goat's kid, and share with me what your perspectives are in regards to this proverb. Share with me what comes to your mind when you hear this proverb. I do want to just quickly give a shout out to, of course, my sister, the hungry medium, who is right next to me on the stage. I want to give you the mic in just a second so that you can also share your perspectives and your words of wisdom in relation to today's proverb. But also M. Jewel, who is such a loyal and amazing supporter, who is with us on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us over there. Let's hear briefly from you, Kat, on what comes to your mind when you hear this proverb from Uganda, and also how you're doing and where you are joining us from. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon. I haven't been on stage with you in a while, so I wanted to thank you so much for inviting me to come up this morning. Um, this proverb, to me, it initially hit me as mind your business, right? And it kind of made me feel a certain way inside because it's not necessarily my belief system. And that is because even though I was born here in America to American parents and descendants of slaves, enslaved Africans, I am an African woman. And it's so interesting you spoke about how we as Africans are always, we talk about one love, and we're always the first to show empathy in these cases. And sometimes we get burned, by that. And the story you told of the young woman in Ukraine, it's so true. It's so true how, and it's also very hard to deal with seeing the rest of the world show so much attention and care. When Africa is in trouble, we don't get the same attention. When Black people in America are going through things, we don't get the same attention. When people in Haiti are going through strife, we don't get the same kind of attention. But we also know the saying of it takes a village, right? And to me, the it takes a village really is almost like counter to this proverb, but it shows the 360 humanity of us, right? The holistic view of us as Africans, our ability to, no matter what, show empathy to people who may not necessarily deserve our empathy. And I'm not saying that people in the Ukraine don't. All I'm saying is we are built that way. We are built that way. The Native Americans were built that way. So this is a very interesting conversation today because we could ignore all the terrible things that have happened to us, right? And yet we face all of these things with empathy, with grace, with love, with kindness. And we have to just remember that at the end of the day, it's our character that will be judged, our character that is constantly being judged. I am reaching out to you as a native New Yorker, Brooklynite, living in Philadelphia. Thank you so much again, Simon.
Yeah, thank you so much. I missed hearing your voice and your wisdom, and it's true that people don't show up for us the way that we show up for people, and it's also sometimes it's hard to even control how generous black people are with their love for humanity. It's a phenomenal. It's a phenomenal. You can't understand it. You'd go to Kenya right now as we speak, and you'd find that a white person visits a village where people are very, very poor. People don't even have enough food to eat. And part of the problem caused in many, many parts of Africa is as a result of colonization. Oh, I'll even stop going to Africa. I'll go to Jamaica. Yesterday, I was watching a video of, I think it was Prince Charles and his wife or something like that. They were in Jamaica.
Oh, it was the son. It was the son.
What's the name of that guy?
Is he William?
I think it's William or something
And
like that.
yes, William and his wife.
Yeah, they were in Jamaica and they were playing the bongo drums. They were playing the traditional Rastafarian music, and they were singing, chant down Babylon, and they were right there sitting with Babylon. I saw Chakaba's post about this, and I found it quite interesting, that we are so generous with our kindness and empathy that we always show up as the big kids in the house. And so when you look at this proverb, you think about what just happened in Jamaica, and even if you go back to the story of families in the continent who do not have enough food, but if someone who is particularly white people visit, they are even willing to let you sleep in the best bed in the house while they sleep on the floor, just because you are a visitor. This happens to most visitors, but I have to say that even if you went to the market as a black person, you'd actually be a little disappointed, because some people would actually choose to serve someone else and not serve you. But I want to just come back to our topic today: how to show empathy. Words of wisdom. That's our focus for today's room here on Clubhouse, but also on YouTube where we are live streaming. This is also our topic, and it's guided by this amazing Ugandan proverb that says, "A sheep does not lament the death of a goat's kid." And thank you again, Kat, for sharing your perspective. Let's briefly hear from John Paul, and then we'll continue the conversation. Today, we are just learning a little bit more about how difficult it can be to show empathy, especially when you are not sure what the other person is feeling. And then a lot of the time, I was sharing the example of Ukraine. Currently, everybody is trying to help people in Ukraine, but some people don't even know where Ukraine is. But because they see something on social media, they want to show love, they want to repost it, they want to retweet it, and in so doing, they feel that, I am making a difference, But how can you do it better? How can you listen better? How can you listen to the point of view of the person you think you are empathizing with? Maybe you're the one who needs empathy, So today, my hope is that we can learn a little more, and we can leave this room knowing just how do we show up for people, and how do we show empathy for people. So John Paul, share with us where you're joining us from, and also what today's proverb from Uganda means to you.
I greet everybody. Good afternoon from here, from Lagos, Nigeria. I greet everybody in the house.
Good afternoon to you.
Honestly, I would say that the world has become generally cold-hearted. And that is why you see everything that is happening today. And just like the proverb of the Ugandans, that when you see a sheep is saying that do not lament over the death of a goat or something like that. What he's saying is he's telling you there must be brotherliness, there must be laborliness. The bottom line is love, because love connects. But the world we live in today is cold hearted. And directly or indirectly, we partake in this coldness or in this cold heartedness. We must be brave enough to tell ourselves the truth. We must be brave enough to be self critic. We must be brave enough to take responsibility of our problems. I don't want to go to the West. I will reside within Africa or within the brown skin, wherever they might find themselves on the face of the earth. We Africans, we are contributing mostly to our cold-heartedness. We don't show love anymore. And it is beginning to dawn on us now what is happening now in Ukraine. There is hunger going on in Africa today. Nobody is talking about it. I'm not justifying what is happening in Ukraine, God forbid. What is happening there is uncalled for and is barbaric, I must say. It's genocide of 21st century. But like I said, I will reside within us. We must begin to look inwards wherever we might find ourselves. We Africans are the problem of ourselves. If we fail to organize ourselves wherever we are on the face of the earth, there won't be any headway. If there is love, there will be organization of things. If there is connection of network of Africans wherever they are, there will be something that will bind everybody together. The conversation must start. Whatever, I don't know. But I'm happy that this one is coming up. Africans must start to take responsibility of what is happening in their domain. We should stop saying colonial master, colonial this. They've done their nonsense. They've gone. Indirectly, they are still there. But the point is, we that reside here in our own country, what are we doing? We might blame the West. Yes, they contributed. But on our own, we must stand up to these idiots that are making life uncomfortable for an African. If you look at Africa, Africa is nature. Africa doesn't destroy. Rather, Africa build. Africa nurture. And that is why they call it the Mother Earth. Because Africa builds and Africa nurture. But as we grow, we tend to be westernized. We leave our culture. Once a man leaves his culture, his essence leaves him. Because it is your culture that guides you in whatever you do in life. We must try to look inwards. Where are we going? What is happening to us? These are the critical things we must begin to ask ourselves. Where are the African values? They are nowhere to be found. Everybody is throwing everything into the wind. And we think we are living a good life. Once a man deviates from the ways of his ancestors, he becomes a shaft before the wind. And that is why I always refer people to go back to their ways of their forebears. In our locals, whatever we do, what are we trying to promote? What are we trying to do to help? What are we trying to connect to other Africans? We must begin to solve our problems, because that is the only way we must have headway. That is the only way we can stand up and say from now to so years, Africa can be in so space among the whole continent of the earth. Are we people not taking note of what is happening in Africa? Every idiot that comes like a vulture to perch on Africa. I read the news sometimes ago that Congo now is saying that you must not take whatever natural resources out of Congo to go and refine. You must do everything within the Congolese territory. It's a good news. But the Congolese itself, at least it's a welcome development, because it is long-awaited thing. But the Congos must also stand to take over whatever that belongs to them. I don't know if anybody can prove me wrong. I stand to be corrected. Congo is the largest deposit of mineral resources on earth. But look at Congo today. You will see a fellow African brother dying in abject poverty without food. And the land is so blessed. Is it the colonial master? No. It is the idiot that are sitting there as government. The same thing happened in Nigeria here. These are the things that is happening to us. We must stand up. If it's revolution, let it be. Because Africa is already getting to a tipping point where the continent will no longer be able to manage its youth. And once it gets to that tipping point, it will get over bloated. And once it's bloated out, something radical change will happen in Africa. It must start in one country. From there, it will split. It will spill into different countries. For goodness sake, Africa cannot continue like this anymore. Julius Nyerere did not grow up like this. They stand to fight against these masters, or whatever colonial nonsense they call them. Do you think if colonial masters were to come now, do you think we this youth now can stand against them? Do you think we have the courage of our forebears? Only few.
Yeah, John Paul, I have a question to just add to the amazing contribution you're giving us. So if you are in a position to just educate a few youths in your own community about empathy, especially with the African cause, you're in Nigeria, and you want to show up for the people in Congo, you want to empathize with their situation. What are maybe one or two ways that you can show empathy to the people of Congo, for example? Because the hope is that we each leave this conversation with an idea of how we can show empathy, and hopefully make a difference through that.
If I have the resources, the most important thing is the way to create education for these children and for the younger youth, and empowerment. Because there is nothing like there is no good way than to teach an adult how to fish, but the children, just put the children in an educational way. You save that child. Yes. Let me be honest with you. Not that these African leaders do not know all these things. They know. But they prefer to take everything out. They and their family will enjoy. And one thing they have forgotten is, if you are keeping one of your kingsmen down, you are keeping yourself down. That's African adage, if they don't know. That's what I said, that it will get to a point, it will spill. Revolution is coming. It's already knocking at the door. It's just a matter of time. But on our own, wherever we are, we must start to connect, show what we call network of or connection of love to one another. You will enter some African forum. It's not palatable to say. I must tell you, we Africans, we must stop dividing ourselves.
Thank you, John.
We must stop.
Thank you, John. Let's hear from Stella a little bit too. Yeah, I really appreciate your contribution today. And I want to continue on and just give Stella space as well to share her perspective. Stella, share with us where you're joining us from, and also what today's proverb from Uganda means to you. A sheep does not lament the death of a goat's kid. I appreciate your support, Stella.
Thank you, Simon. Hello, everyone. This is Stella from Kenya. And it's a beautiful evening over here. It's raining. So we are happy because it was so shiny a few weeks ago. This proverb from Uganda it talks about something I do almost every day. I also work at the hospital. I know Simon knows. And every day you have to listen to people's troubles, and you have to show empathy, because then you can try to figure out what they are going through and how you can help them. And empathy has just become a part of me. It's something I have to practice every day, because at the end of the day, you want to try to lessen their burdens and just reassure them that they'll be fine at the end of the day. And it's really beautiful when you see them get better, when you see the people you impacted their lives, the people you touched their lives in a way. When you see them get better, it's so rewarding. It's the most rewarding thing for me. Yeah, and that's what this proverb has reminded me today. Otherwise, thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here.
Hey Stella, before you go, I just want you to share one tip of how you can show up for your patients at the hospital. How do you make them feel that you see them and you understand how they feel? Because a lot of the time, how you show up for people also indicates to them that they can actually get better. How you show up for people indicates to them that they can also get out of their current situation. Give us maybe one or two tips.
Yes. Number one, which almost every patient appreciates, is when you listen to them. They really prefer when you listen to them than anything else, because sometimes they feel that no one is listening to really get to know what exactly they are suffering from. So when they find you attentive and you just have a conversation, it's really therapeutic to them, and it's like they get healed instantly when you just listen and listen and listen, and they can tell you all the burden they've gone through. So listening is so powerful. Number two, when you reassure and reaffirm that it will be fine, no matter what, it will be fine, as long as they adhere to the plan of care that you give them, and you give them that reassurance, it really works. So those are some of the biggest tips that I've learned when you have to show empathy to someone.
I love that. Listening is something that I work on with my daughters every day. So I appreciate that so much. I want to come to you now. Thank you again, Stella, for your contribution. It means a lot. And I want to come to you, Kay. Kay, how are you doing? And where are you joining us from? And what is it that you want to share with us, in regards to your interpretation of today's proverb from Uganda. It says, "A sheep does not lament the death of a goat's kid."
Hi, Simon. Greetings, everyone. Um, Thank you for this. I had mixed feelings when I first saw it in the morning, and I was very interested in what people would say. I do think uh, we are a very compassionate people. Uh, the Spirit of God has been infused in us in such a way that we do respond to uh, the hurt and pain of others. But what has been interesting to me, and I was raised a Christian, but when I went to find principles that wanted to uh, abide by, I I went I wanted to get principles that were before the oppression of colonization and slavery, or what anyhow. I went back to the 42 principles, positive principles of Mayat, as my source. But here's what happens: because we are an empathetic people, you take on the feelings and desires of others with compassion. So we also took on the feelings and desires of our oppressor. Some of the things that the oppressor passed down to us, we carried it, and we still and some things are being passed down to our children. So when I look at the news, I saw the way the news was presented. I'm in Atlanta. I'm in the United States now. They presented the Ukraine as if you had people or friends or family there that you would have concern, and I couldn't understand that. These are human beings. How would I not have concern? But these are a people who feel for themselves. They're just different. I'm not making it good or bad, but that's who they are. This natural compassion for others doesn't come. So you have to know, we have to decide who we are and govern ourselves accordingly. But of course, we're living with other people, but we have to know, number one, how we have taken on some of the beliefs that they have. And sometimes you can have it too much. I watched a woman in Ukraine on the news, and I noticed I was feeling just fine, but listening to, the family problems and everything that she was having, I began to get sad and also almost tearful, because I am compassionate, but it must be managed. I can't let it function throughout my day. Now, one of the tools I was recently given is just to breathe. To breathe in and breathe out. Move that energy out. You can do it with anger. You can do it with any feeling. Everything is energy. Move it out. Yes, it's okay to be sad for them. This is what you can do. And now you must get on with the rest of your day, because we have an issue of being compassionate with each other, our own people. And I feel that reason is because we've taken on some of the vestiges of the oppressor. So, yes, it's good to be compassionate. And for those, I know I'm not the only one, people who are very sensitive, it must be managed. There's nothing wrong with it. And then if I'm on the other side, if I find I tend not to care about other people, you might want to look at how can I, you know, care about others if that's who you decide to be. Some people decide that's who they want to be. And I do want to be compassionate, but I also want to be able to function. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want you to just quickly share one tip. What one tip can you give a group of youths that you are speaking to when it comes to, showing empathy? Just one tip.
I guess to really put yourself in somebody else's shoes. In other words, we're very busy at um, uh, passing blame. We're really in that space now, and this is most certainly not just to youth. Um, before I do anything now or make a judgment about what has said or happened, I first search to see if it's in me. And I'll tell you the truth, that it keeps me so busy fixing myself that I don't have the time or energy to judge others. But what happens as okay, this is the problem that happened. Even if it's my fault, 2%, I work on that 2%. And I'm telling you the truth, the problem goes away. Either, my perspective at looking at what happened, or somehow it goes away. So my thing is to be more compassionate. First, really find that energy in yourself. And trust me, we all have it, good or bad. What we've grown in ourselves is something different. And work on yourself. We spend too much time judging and talking about what somebody else should do. Focus on what you can do. The other thing I saw in terms of the gentleman, John Paul, one of the things I thought about when I saw the news this morning is they were talking about NATO. And they said, if in the NATO creed or whatever, if you invade one of our countries, you have invaded all of our countries. And I wish that we had that in Africa, so that things like the Congo, because these countries are isolated. But if we had a NATO premise that what you have done in the Congo, you have done to the whole continent, including the diaspora. If we had that mentality, that compassion for each other, what you have done unto them, you have done unto me. Wow. Thank you.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, Bibi, how are you doing? I want to bring the mic to you in just a second, but I do want to welcome everyone who is here with us for the Daily African Proverbs. This is an amazing session here on Clubhouse and also on YouTube. We are live streaming on YouTube. If you want to join that live stream, the link is right at the top of the Clubhouse room. And when you join the live stream, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I quickly want to give a shout out to M. Jewel, who is with us on YouTube and making some amazing comments. M. Jewel says that this proverb reminds me of how many of us have abandoned the village mindset and lifestyle for the sake of minding their business. I love that. And she also says that the goat isn't sheep yet. If something happens to the kid, it could very well happen to sheep. Okay. And then, if you're on YouTube, you'll catch some of M. Jewel's other amazing comments. I'll read more later. But as we were looking at this proverb and as I continue hearing from you, I'm reminded of how, there are stories of, for example, there was a hippo that was rescued in Kenya a number of years ago, maybe 15 years ago. It was there was a group of hippos that, by mistake, were found, or they were taken to a location near the Indian Ocean, and they ended up giving birth and becoming so many there that some of the little ones had to be taken away to different conservations where these hippos could be better taken care of. And one particular hippo that ended up becoming a subject of a book, a children's book, thought that a very old tortoise was its mother. They became so close to each other, and the tortoise became fond of this hippo. And even as the hippo grew and became bigger, their bond continued on, And, when the hippo showed up at this conservation where, animals were being taken care of, the only animal that showed it empathy was the tortoise. And this tortoise was old. It's one of the oldest probably in the world right now. The energy that it exuded attracted the hippo as a little one, and until now they're probably still together. I just wanted to share that story because this proverb speaks to a sheep does not lament the death of a goat's kid, and a lot of the time, because we are different, we find it difficult to empathize with another person or show up for another person. I wanted to just share that as an example. But to continue our conversation here for the Daily African Proverbs, I want to bring on Bibi, who is an amazing supporter. Bibi, how are you doing? Where are you joining us from? And what are your perspectives on this proverb from Uganda, where you also come from originally? The proverb says, a sheep does not lament the death of a goat's kid.
Thank you, Simon. Good morning, everyone. I'm from Tennessee right now, and great room so far, as always. But when it comes to this proverb today, I'll have to ask, how do the goat and the sheep see each other? Are they, because like for us, we're human and we're human race, no matter how different we look from each other sometimes, but we're still the same at the end of the day. So depending on what race they fall under, but I would say I'm trying to think of how to put it, but I would just use human race as an example for me. As a child of war, I definitely I can empathize um, with the Ukrainians and what's going on in the world, because um, we always have to be conscious with how we are with others and how we feel towards others, because what happens to them can easily happen to us. Any of those things that they're going through right now, you just have to imagine, well, what would you like to happen if you were in that situation? How would you like to be helped? Or nobody ever wants their comfort place or their home to be attacked. But sometimes with the way how the world is, like there it just happens like beyond our control. And when it does happen, how would you like to be showed up for? That's my take. And as far as how would I show others or help others overcome this, I would just use my own example, my own life as an example. Not necessarily that I survived the war, but how I survived my recent war, like getting hit by an accident and almost losing my life, but yet coming strong out of it. I'll use that to give people hope. And if it helps one person, it'll help another, which will end up helping another. So that's my take for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, baby. Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate that. And also, I just want to welcome Elijah and Carol and Kea and Laron and Jay, Adoa, Johnny, Sandy Sizwe, MK, Jag, and Mag, who are with us here on the audience section. And, we have amazing speakers who are going to share with us as we are in the tail end of our conversation, last 12 minutes. I want to continue on, but before we move to you, K Cares, I just want you all to know that we are live streaming on YouTube as well. The link is at the top of the room. Please check out the live stream, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also leave a comment there so that we know that you are there. And if you are in the Clubhouse world, follow the African Father in America Club so that when we are doing this again, we can just be sure that you are notified and you join us to continue building this village of ours. Kay, how are you? Where are you joining us from? And what does today's proverb from Uganda mean to you? And also share one tip in regards to showing empathy.
Yes, Simon, thank you. I'm in Copenhagen, and I'm kind of still sort of trying to chew on this a little bit. I haven't really got into anything, so I'll gladly maybe give space to all of you. I can like maybe be the last one speak or something, if it's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. That's understandable. Thank you very much. Now we'll go to Joseph, my brother Joseph Kafunda. Joseph, feel free to actually talk about the travel sessions that we host here together with Aduoa and Lavender every Wednesday. But share with us your words of wisdom when it comes to this Ugandan proverb, and also share with us where you're joining us from, and just one quick tip about showing empathy. What is it that you'd share with us so that we leave this space, just better at, showing up and showing empathy for others.
Thank you, Simon, and I hope everyone is doing well. I'm joining you guys from Namibia. I just got back yesterday from a very long journey into Botswana. That I got back to Namibia yesterday, and I drove straight back home because I was really missing home. So I'm back in Namibia, in Walvis Bay, to be precisely, and the weather is lovely, and it's always beautiful to be back home. The feeling of being home, I can be able to relate with the proverb of today. And we intend in our daily life of today, we intend to love at our enemies. Although our enemies, in this case, is going to be the sheep, that the goat is going to be able to laugh at, or the sheep is going to be able to laugh at the goats, because they are competitor for that matter, because what the sheep eats, it's not what the goat is going to eat. So both together, they can be in the same crawl, but they will not still be disliking one another. So I'm going to look at it and try to interpret it as a way of human beings today. When a brother or a sister is moving forward, we intend to laugh at them, or we intend to talk back what's about them. And when we see their downfall, we are happy. So I'm going to translate that. And I said, it's about time that we have to embrace one another. We have to hold hands, and we need to look and support one another. We are seeing what the world is today. Let us not be the sheep or the goats in these regards. And just, Simon, to talk about our daily travel that we host. I really missed the one of last night, but I invite everybody to be awake today so that we can be able to have a very good conversations. Adoa is going to be able to join us, and Simon, you're going to be there, and the rest of the team. We look forward to share the places that you can be able to travel and advise you on how you can be able to travel in Africa. Right, I'm writing an article for the British Herald that they asked me to write about Zambia. So I'm really trying to write that article so that it can be out there so that people can be able to read about how to travel in Zambia. So I will share some of those moments to this evening with everybody who's going to be joining our travel in Africa, which is going to be hosted by Simon and I and Adoa and the rest of the team so that we can be able to speak about. My words of wisdom today is that let's hold hands with one another. Let's embrace one another. Let's support one another. Let's make sure that we are always there for one another, because if you let one fall, the downfall of the other, it's a downfall of many. So let's embrace one another and hold this space together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also, just to correct something, it's Wednesdays at 11:15 a.m. Not every day that we do the travel sessions. I just want, I don't want someone looking for us today, but they can catch the replay from yesterday. They can catch the replay from yesterday in the One Vibe Africa Club. That's where the travel conversations are held every single week. Kesiwa, how are you doing? And share with us your wisdom, where you're joining us from, and what today's proverb from Uganda means to you. And maybe if you have one tip in regards to showing empathy, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. Hello, Simon. Hello, everyone. Joining you guys from, I guess you can say Los Angeles. And what this proverb means to me is that I just love that this is our ancestors that really just imparted this knowledge. It has me going from to and fro. I am just all over the place as far as to give my interpretation, because on the one hand, it's cautioning us to really just look at the example of the sheep, and then at the same time, it's also cautioning us to just truly understand what the goat is going through. We always associate strength with the goat, and we always associate docility with the sheep. And so it's like, wow, the sheep not having empathy for a goat losing their kid. Ooh, I just, so I'm truly appreciative of what our Ugandan ancestors were truly trying to impart to us. And a couple of times people did mention the word of God, and I couldn't help but think of that phrase in the Bible that talked about how that God said, "If you don't worship me, I'll let the stones will praise me." I couldn't help but think of that part of the Bible in regards to this proverb. And yeah, I mean, these are mere animals. We're human, right? So I truly, what Kay Benjamin said resonated with me, to be honest. And also what Joseph said helped me sort of put things in perspective, because I realized that we have to have that, because we have to consider the fact that who we are as humans, right? And just by watching the example of animals, we have to have a kind of a standard, I guess you could say, because we have discernment, we have we can study, you know we can think far ahead, whereas animals don't really have, I mean, they don't have the ability to be able to do that. So with that said, there is a time and a place for everything, right? And I think that's what this proverb is teaching us, is that have discernment enough to have that sort of long range thinking, but at the same time also caution and just have an awareness of yourself, right? Because this is, as humans, this is what we can do. And let me see what I can share as far as empathy, and what I can say is just that always have an awareness, and oh, and always be willing to look beyond the immediate pain, you know. And yeah, certainly if there's ways that you can be of help, definitely help. But also understand that if you don't have a whole lot within you to be able to help, let that be known too, so that there isn't like a wastage of energy and a wastage of time. There's almost always someone else who can step into that space and be of service, right? Um, so Simon, I hope this has answered a bit of the
Ye-
question, but I
Yes.
wanted to attempt
Yeah,
to
you did.
contribute because I'm going to be thinking of this proverb literally all week because it's really I appreciate our ancestors for getting us to really tackle it. So thank you. This is Kasio, I'm done speaking.
Yeah, thank you, Kasiwa. I appreciate your contribution and your words of wisdom. Thank you so much. And I want to go on here to Dr. Ayoka Wiles. How are you doing today? Where are you joining us from? And what are your perspectives on this Ugandan proverb, a sheep does not lament the death of a goat's kid? And also maybe one tip in regards to showing empathy.
Hi, greetings, Simon. Thank you. I actually pressed it by mistake, but I will share. I've been listening to you and your room for a couple of weeks now, probably months, and just been a listening ear. But today I felt compelled. And and my sister there is up there with you, the hungry medium. But
Hi,
um,
sister.
hi.
Yeah, that's
This
my sister too. We are claiming her.
Yeah, she's a she's wonderful. And and what I want to say is there, and probably because I'm on the up here for the first time, is that empathy is one of my favorite subjects. I love talking about this. I've even done workshops with young people and with teachers in New York City. I'm calling in from New York, Poughkeepsie, but I travel the world, and in my work life, as a philanthropist, and it's probably because of empathy has been at the center of a lot of my work in my work life and my spiritual life and so forth. But what I would say is that one of the things that I tell people, and I can't claim it in totality, but it kind of brings together my philosophy around empathy. And I got some of this from Dr. Brene Brown and from some other elders that I know, that have helped me to sort of um, understand empathy. And it's this understanding that there's a difference between being empathetic and being sympathetic. And the difference between empathy and sympathy is that in sympathy, in the case for this proverb, a goat has lost his child. And so when you're sympathetic, you might say to a person, or the goat might say to the sheep might say to the goat, oh, I'm so sorry for you. You know, well, at least you have other goats or other kids. Well, at least you can focus, at least you're still alive, or at least they had a good enough life, and hopefully, I'm sorry for you, right? But being empathetic and having empathy is the sheep sitting down with the goat, stroking the goat and saying, hey, I've been there too. I lost one of my children. And I know how hard it is. And I pray that you get through it. And you know what? I'm going to sit here with you until you do get through it. Because that idea and that notion of just sitting with someone, hearing them, and being empathetic is that I see you and I see what you're going through. And because I see you, I feel what you're feeling. I may not know it in totality. I may not understand it because maybe I have experienced that too, or maybe I haven't, but I understand that what you're feeling is real. What you're feeling is real to you, and that you deserve the um, the compassion and understanding to just sit with you and understand you. And so, one of this is the last thing I'll say in some of the work that I do. in philanthropy is around restitution of African cultural heritage and the return of African artifacts and human remains. And I was trying to find a way that empathy could have a place in this work. And today I think I found it, not from the part of the Africans, but from the part of those Europeans who have stolen artifacts, and how one can see some retribution and compassion there. And it's the idea that once the idea that if one, meaning the other party, can see that their act was wrong, that their act, if that they can see that those who those artifacts belong to deserve respect and dignity, just like they want one for their own countrymen, we have made progress. So I'm done and I'm complete. Thank you so much for this.
Wow, that's incredible. Incredible contribution, Dr. Ayoka. I do want to extend an invitation for you to join us for Africa Day on May 25th here on Clubhouse. We are going to do a 24-hour marathon, 24-hour. For every 1 hour, we are going to have a different conversation. One of the conversations is going to be around, how museums that are led by Africans and African American people worldwide are responding to how the museums in Europe are returning or are beginning to return the stolen artifacts. And that panel is going to be led by some of the leadership from Northwest African American Museum here in Seattle. And I feel that you'd be a great addition to that. So if you're interested, maybe Kat could connect us, because it seems you guys are directly connected. But I'm just so grateful that you're here. And I just want to, welcome everyone. We are 4 minutes past the regular time that we end our session. But this has been so, fulfilling and so amazing. So we are going to go to Melissa, who is also doing incredible work. Share with us where you're joining us from and what today's proverb from Uganda means to you. The proverb says, a sheep does not lament the death of a goat's kid. And also share one tip about empathy. How do you show empathy from your perspective?
Oh, it's such an honor to be here, Simon. I saw your ping. I was like, I got to come spend some time with my dear one here. I love the topic. And hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Perkins. I am the owner of Blue Star Virtual Learning, international tech company, and I'm based here in Asheville, North Carolina. And what this proverb means to me, how I internalize it, is to understand that attaching to a problem doesn't allow you to find the solution. And, when people lose something, it's very dear, often to them, which is why we're seeing that expression, and which is why our heartstrings are pulled, because we can relate to what it is to lose something. It's hard to lose a child, to lose a family member, to lose a job, to lose anything. And so, but when we lament over it, we're stuck. We can't seem to get past it. And I embrace grief. I was so touched by one of the earlier speakers talking about Brene Brown. She's one of my favorite people to learn from. And she really does it. She's an expert in vulnerability. And I think it's beautiful when we allow ourselves to connect with each other around sadness, and we have compassion for each other. But I think the opportunity that is there also is to show each other a way out if we want to. If we want to, we can show people how to go beyond a problem to a solution. And that's kind of where my life is right now, is that I see that there's lots of hurting and lots of disillusionment and lots of frustration and overwhelm in the lives of people. We have wars going on, and wars have been going on nonstop on this planet. It's not a Ukraine thing. It's not a Bosnia thing. It's not a Germany Hitler thing. It is a human thing with power. And I think that the opportunity we all have is to counterbalance it by how we love the people in our immediate sphere of influence and how we love the people that surround the work that we do individually. And so that's my contribution I wanted to add. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, for your contribution, your words of wisdom, Melissa. And we are going to go to you, Steve, and then come back to Kay, who requested to speak last. But before we come to you, Steve, there are just two things I want to remind everyone who is listening and also watching. One is, if you want to check out my YouTube channel where we are live streaming this conversation, the link is at the top of the room on Clubhouse, and you can join us there. And two, I want to just quickly introduce you, Stephen, to the hungry medium, Kat, who is right next to me at the top of the room. Kat, Steve is the person who is leading the team in Kenya who are working on the project that, we've been working on over the last few weeks. Yeah, so Steve, share with us your thoughts on this proverb, where you're joining us from, and also one tip that you have in regards to empathy. Thank you so much.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Steven, joining from One Vibe Kenya. I'm actually joining from our headquarters in Kenya, Kisumu. This is a good proverb, and it has kept me thinking a lot around the proverb. And what is coming in mind is I'm just trying to reflect and relate the proverb with the level of tribalism in our country, and more so when it comes to the climax of elections, like what we are headed to right now. If I reflect back in
Yeah, we lost you, Steve. We can't hear you anymore in case you're still talking. Yeah, I think it's network issues. Steve, can you unmute again? And maybe we could come back to you. Okay, great. We'll come to you, Kay, for now, and maybe come back to Steve in a moment. Thank you. Go ahead, Kay.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, it was really difficult for me to actually, sort of get to any sort of maybe um, interpretation of this proverb because I've kept, thinking about what kind of relationship that the sheep and the goat had if they were in competition or whatnot, and how, maybe the ancestors, sort of like which sort of value they had ascribed to, the goat or the sheep. And I was kind of lost in that, but I really think the sister who was speaking from Los Angeles, I didn't really catch her name. Maybe it was Doctor who came, who spoke about how,
as one. So
oh, okay,
back to
there.
you,
Steve.
Simon.
Hey, Steve.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hold on for a moment. We didn't hear much of what you said after you started speaking about the election. So hold on for a moment. We'll come right back to you, Steve. But just think about repeating everything you said, just briefly. For now, we were hearing from Kay. Because of network, we didn't hear much of what you said. So you will close the session for us. So just hold on for a moment. Kay, carry on, please.
Yeah, so I guess it must have been Dr. Ayoka Wiles who, said something about how, like not to sort of take on other people's problems or other people's losses, something like that. And it kind of it made sense for me because, or it reminded me at least that, I'm actually really good at taking on other people's problems, especially before, the prevention sort of mode, or like if people want to start working out, and I'm going all the way into sort of like motivate them to do this and that and whatnot, and in a sense I actually take on the problem more than maybe they do somehow, right? and I end up being maybe sometimes even disappointed, you know. But the whole thing is actually for the most part in my head, and like it is not my problem, and I actually have to realize that. So yeah, I think it really makes sense to sort of like and by the way, there was also somebody else who said that that sort of like to sort of be empathetic instead of maybe sympathetic. So you could always sort of maybe be because when you're empathizing with someone doesn't mean that you actually take it necessarily mean you're taking on the person that person's problem, but you're just basically showing compassion, or being empathetic. Um, yeah, yeah, compassion, empathy, yeah. Um, instead of sort of maybe over exaggerating to sort of like act as if it was your problem, or maybe even more. Anyway, I guess you guys maybe understand what I mean. So my sort of tip um, on empathy, I think would sort of be, or at least like I've learned to sort of like expand my empathy beyond just humans, that and especially in these times of climate change and whatnot, like to sort of like always remember that I don't know, at least like, okay, I was gonna preach about meat consumption and how we should not eat meat, and like empathize, or at least like yeah, maybe even yeah, empathize with the animals that we share the planet with, or the other non-beings that we share the planet with, who are who do not have these institutions that we have, that we actually sort of participate in a particular form of colonialism, being that we are actually reproducing some form of I don't know, like uh, thraldom, I'll call it, that they were not sort of, or at least they did not consent to. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, for sharing your perspectives as well. Now, Steve, just quickly share with us your thoughts as well. We missed quite a bit of what you're sharing. And then after that, we are going to begin wrapping up our session today. I have a few announcements, so just stay with us in case you're thinking of moving. I just want to share a few exciting announcements, so, keep it locked.
Uh, Thank you again, Simon. I have a terrible reception today. Network is not very stable, but as I was saying earlier, what I was trying to relate the proverb with is the level of tribalism in our country. If you look at uh, the episodes of post-election violence that we've had, most was a result of tribalism and intercommunal clashes. So I remember an incident where Simon had to travel from Kisumu to Mbita and to our rural home area with kids from the orphanage, just to go and keep them in a safe space and to prevent them from being harmed by our tribal men. And because majority of these kids were not from our community. So Simon's act, I believe it was an act of empathy and the love and the passion that he had for these kids. So my point was that if we can just look beyond ourselves, beyond our background and where we are coming from, and look at all of us as one, not identifying ourselves with our background and our color and our tribe, then we'll realize that essence of empathy, and it will sail across our neighbors and our brothers with this without us forcing it out or being coerced to be empathetic with whatever is happening to our neighbors. Thank you, Simon. I don't want to say much in the interest of time. Back
Thank
to
you.
you again.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I love your perspectives as well, and I love the sounds of what's going on behind there. I think the dance sessions are going on. People are practicing dance over there. I miss those moments. I miss just spending time in the afternoon, being a part of the activities that you are all experiencing right now. Anyhow, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, and thank you to everyone who contributed today. Tomorrow I am hosting Sensas Loliong. Many of you know Sensas. She frequents this room. She's also very deeply involved with Africa Day planning. She's going to be my guest here tomorrow, so you don't want to miss that. And then on Saturday, 9 a.m. PST, we have an amazing session in the Africa Day Club. You don't want to miss that. And then finally, I want to pitch my book, Rooted in Love. It's a fresh book, and a few people here already have a copy of it. I would love for you to check out my Instagram profile, and there you'll get to the link tree that will lead you to, Amazon or your favorite, platform where you can get the book from, and then I'm lining up some amazing appearances here on Clubhouse. Just 2 days ago I was interviewed by the CEO of Wisdom App, which is a competitor to Clubhouse, and she's a Nigerian based in the UK. I think that was one of the most incredible interviews I've ever done. If you want to listen to it, you can check it out through my YouTube channel. I was able to add it there. It's also a part of my podcast, the African Father in America podcast. You can catch it there. It's one of the most recent episodes. With that, I just want to say thank you. This session cannot be possible without your contributions. So I just thank you so much for creating the time to join us. Thank you, Kat, for just your love and support, and also Stella particularly. Thank you for your efforts in helping grow the Daily African Proverbs and the African Father in America podcast, through your work and your commitment. With that, I'm just grateful. There's nothing much I can say beyond that, and I'll see you all tomorrow. But just one last thing: in April, I'll not be doing the Daily African Proverbs the whole month. I'm taking time off, but there's a lot of work we're going to be doing behind the scene. We are launching a blog. I'll be doing a lot of book tours for the Rooted in Love book that I was just talking about. So if you don't see us in April, please go and see us on my YouTube channel and listen to the podcast. And we'll still be sharing a lot of amazing content. So you won't miss us that much, but we won't be live streaming. We won't be producing new content. We'll just be sharing old content and preparing to come back in May, which is the month of, it's like the month of Africa. So stay tuned, and thank you again so much. Peace and love.
African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.